Mira stood in line at the city museum on a hot summer day. She was very bored. Her sister Lily had made her come to see the new exhibit. The line moved very slowly. People were waiting to see a strange statue of a guard made of old bronze metal. Mira checked her phone. No new messages. She looked at her watch. They had been waiting for almost an hour. Finally, they got close to the front of the line. Mira could now see the statue clearly. It was about the size of a real man. The metal was green and black from age. A sign next to it said it was over 2,000 years old. The statue had one odd feature. Its right ear was very shiny, not green like the rest. Mira watched as people went up to it. They would lean in close to the statue's ear. They would whisper something. Then they would put their ear against the statue's mouth. Most people laughed or looked sad after. Then they would move on. "What are they doing?" Mira asked her sister. "The sign says this is the Whispering Guard," Lily explained. "People believe if you tell it a question, it will whisper your future back to you." Mira rolled her eyes. "That is so silly. People will believe anything." Lily smiled. "You should try it. What do you have to lose?" The line moved forward, and suddenly it was Mira's turn. She felt a bit silly standing in front of the statue. Everyone was watching her. The guard's face was calm, with empty eyes that somehow seemed to look right at her. "Go on," Lily urged. "Ask it something." Mira sighed. She leaned in close to the shiny ear. She could smell the old metal. It reminded her of pennies. "Will I ever escape this boring life?" She whispered very quietly. She didn't want other people to hear her question. Then, feeling a bit foolish, she put her ear against the cold metal lips of the statue. She expected to hear nothing. Maybe she would hear the sounds of the museum or her own breathing. What she did not expect was a voice. Clear as if someone stood next to her, the statue whispered, "Next Tuesday, you will get a letter that will change everything." Mira jumped back. Her heart beat fast in her chest. She looked around quickly. Was someone playing a trick? But all the other visitors were just watching her or looking at their phones. The museum guard was helping an old lady with her walking stick. "What happened?" Lily asked. "You look like you saw a ghost." "Nothing," Mira said quickly. "Just a silly statue." But her hands were shaking. That night, Mira could not sleep. She kept thinking about the voice from the statue. It had to be a trick. Maybe there was a small speaker hidden in the statue. Maybe the museum hired people to whisper to visitors to make the exhibit more fun. There had to be a normal explanation. But deep down, Mira felt afraid. The voice had sounded so real. And it had answered her exact question. How could a recording know what she would ask? The next day at her office job, Mira could not focus. She filed papers and answered phones, but her mind kept going back to the statue. The Whispering Guard and its strange promise about Tuesday. Just forget it, she told herself. It was nothing. But she could not forget it. And as the weekend passed, she found herself thinking more and more about Tuesday and the letter that would supposedly change her life. Monday passed slowly. Mira sat at her desk, sorting papers that no one would ever read. The office walls felt like they were closing in on her. The clock on the wall ticked so slowly. She kept checking her phone, as if Tuesday might come faster that way. Her boss, Mr. Jenkins, noticed her looking at the clock. "Got somewhere important to be, Mira?" he asked in his deep voice. "No, sir," Mira said quickly, "just watching the time." When she got home that night, Mira checked her mailbox even though she knew it was still Monday. Empty, except for a phone bill. She tried to sleep, but could not. The statue's voice kept playing in her head. "Next Tuesday, you will get a letter that will change everything." Tuesday morning finally came. Mira woke up early. She got dressed in her best work clothes, though she did not know why. She felt like something big was going to happen. She almost ran to her mailbox before leaving for work, but stopped herself. "This is silly," she thought. "I am acting crazy over some museum trick." Work that day was the longest of her life. Mira made 3 mistakes in her filing. She spilled coffee on important papers. She could not focus on anything. Her mind was only on what might be waiting in her mailbox. When the clock finally showed 5 o'clock, Mira grabbed her coat and ran out. She did not even say goodbye to her coworkers. She caught the bus just as it was leaving. Her heart was beating so fast when she got to her street. She walked slowly to her mailbox, suddenly afraid. What if there was no letter? What if it was all just in her head? Mira took a deep breath and opened the small metal door. There were some bills, a magazine, and a cream-colored envelope. Her hand shook as she picked it up. It did not look like any normal mail. The paper was thick and fancy. Her name and address were written by hand in beautiful writing. There was no return address. She went inside her small apartment and sat down. She stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Inside was a single sheet of the same thick paper. At the top was a strange symbol. It looked like the one on the statue's base at the museum. "Dear Ms. Mira Chen," the letter began, "we are pleased to offer you a position with the International Foundation for Historical Discovery. Our organization has been searching for someone with your unique talents to assist in the translation of newly discovered ancient texts. We believe you are the perfect candidate for this important work." Mira read on, her hands still shaking. The letter offered her a job with good pay, much better than her boring office job. She would travel to Greece to work at a dig site. All her expenses would be paid. They wanted her to start in 2 weeks. But one thing made no sense. The letter talked about her unique talents and special skills. Mira did not have any special skills. She had studied some old languages in college, but not very well. She had never been good at anything special. At the bottom of the letter was a phone number to call if she accepted. The letter was signed by someone named Dr. Elias Kastner, head of research. Mira read the letter 3 more times. It had to be a mistake. They must have the wrong person. But the letter had her full name and address, and it came exactly when the statue said it would. She picked up her phone and almost called her sister. But what would she say? That a statue told her future, and now it was coming true. Lily would think she was crazy. Instead, she dialed the number on the letter. Her finger hesitated over the call button. If she pressed it, something told her that her life would never be the same again. Was she ready for that? Mira took a deep breath and pressed the button. A man with a deep voice answered after just 1 ring. "Dr. Kastner speaking," he said. "How may I help you?" "This is Mira Chen," she said nervously. "I got your letter today about a job." "Ah, ens Chen," the voice sounded happy. "I am so glad you called. We were hoping to hear from you soon. Have you decided to accept our offer?" Mira hesitated. "How did you find me?" she asked. "I mean, why me? I do not have special skills or talents." The man laughed gently. "We have been watching your work for some time, as Chen. Your paper on ancient Greek symbols showed great promise, and your understanding of old writing systems is exactly what we need." Mira was confused. She had written a small paper in college about Greek letters, but it was not very good. Her professor had given her only a B-. It was nothing special. "When can you start?" Dr. Kastner asked. "The sooner the better. Our work is at a critical stage." "I need to think about it," Mira said. "This is all very sudden." "Of course," the man said, "but please do not take too long. Time is important. We can have you on a plane to Athens by this weekend if you agree." Mira promised to call back the next day. She hung up and sat staring at the wall. This could not be real. A statue tells her about a letter, and then the letter comes offering her dream job in a foreign country. Things like this did not happen in real life. She called her sister. "You got a job offer in Greece," Lily said when Mira told her about the letter. "That is amazing. You have to take it." "But I do not understand why they want me," Mira said. "And there is something strange about it all." She almost told Lily about the statue's whisper but stopped herself. It sounded too crazy. "Who cares why they want you?" Lily said. "It is a chance to travel, to do something exciting, to escape your boring job." Is that not what you always wanted? It was true. Mira had always dreamed of traveling to see ancient places, to touch old stones and read words written thousands of years ago, to escape her tiny apartment and dull office. The next morning, she called Dr. Kastner back. "I will take the job," she said. "Excellent." Dr. Kastner sounded very pleased. "I will email you all the details. Your plane leaves Saturday morning. Someone will meet you at the Athens airport." 2 days later, Mira quit her job. Mr. Jenkins was not happy. "You are making a mistake," he told her. "You have a secure position here. Why risk everything for some job you know nothing about?" But Mira did not listen. She packed her small apartment, put most things in storage, and said goodbye to her few friends. Only Lily came to the airport to see her off. "This is so exciting," Lily hugged her. "You are going to have an amazing adventure. Send me lots of pictures." Mira was nervous the whole long flight. What if no one met her in Athens? What if this was all a big mistake? What if the job was not real? But when she walked out of the airport, a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes was holding a sign with her name on it. "Ms. Chen," he smiled. "I am Elias Kastner. Welcome to Greece. We have been waiting for you." The drive from the airport was long but beautiful. Mira watched through the car window as the busy city gave way to rolling green hills and then blue ocean views. "You must be tired from your journey," Dr. Kastner said as he drove. "We will go straight to the dig site. It is not far now. You can rest there before joining the team tomorrow." Mira had so many questions but found herself suddenly too tired to ask them. The long flight, the new country, and all the strange events of the past week had worn her out. When the car finally stopped, they were at a small camp. White tents stood in neat rows. People in work clothes moved around carrying tools and boxes. In the distance, Mira could see open holes in the ground where they were digging. "This is our current site," Dr. Kastner explained. "We have been working here for 2 years now. The discoveries have been remarkable." He showed her to a small tent with a cot, desk, and a lamp. "This will be your home for now," he said. "Rest tonight. Tomorrow I will show you why we brought you here." Despite her tiredness, Mira could not sleep well that night. Strange dreams filled her mind. She saw the bronze statue, but it was new and shiny. She heard whispers in a language she did not know yet somehow understood. She saw herself dressed in old clothes, writing on clay with a wooden stick. When morning came, she felt as if she had not slept at all. But excitement pushed away her tiredness. She dressed quickly and stepped out of her tent. The early sun made the whole camp golden. The air smelled of earth and salt from the sea. Dr. Kastner was waiting for her. "Good morning, Ms. Chen," he smiled. "Did you sleep well?" "Not really," Mira admitted. "Strange dreams." The man nodded as if this was normal. "The site affects many people that way. You will get used to it. Come, let me show you our discovery." He led her past the tents to the largest dig site. Steps had been cut into the earth, leading down into a dark opening. As they walked down, Mira felt a strange feeling in her chest, like she was both afraid and coming home at the same time. Underground was a large room with stone walls. The air was cool and damp. Lights on stands showed wall carvings and stone tables, and in the center of the room was a statue. Mira gasped. It was the same as the museum statue. The same whispering guard. But this one was not green with age. This one was shiny and new-looking. "Yes," Dr. Kastner washed her face. "The same as the one you saw in the museum. We have found 7 of them so far in different countries. All identical. All with the same power." Mira stepped closer to the statue. The face seemed to watch her. "How did you know I saw the one in the museum?" she asked. "I never told you that." Dr. Kastner smiled. "The statues are connected. When one speaks, they all know. When you whispered to the one in your city, it told us where to find you." "This cannot be real," Mira said. "Statues do not talk or think. This must be some trick." Dr. Kastner walked to a far wall covered in strange writing. "This is why we need you," he said, pointing to the symbols. "These texts tell the story of the statues, of how they were made and why. We need someone who can read them properly. But I cannot read this, Mira started to say, then stopped, because as she looked at the wall, the strange marks began to make sense, like a language she had known but forgotten. Time travelers, Dr. Kastner said quietly. That is what the old stories call them. The statues were made to find special people across time, people who could help preserve knowledge through the ages. Mira spent the next week studying the wall writings. Each day, she understood more. The strange symbols began to form words and then sentences in her mind. It felt like remembering rather than learning, like the knowledge was already in her head just waiting to be found. The dig team watched her with curious eyes. They were all experts from universities and museums around the world. At first, they did not believe she could help, a young woman with no special training. But as the days passed, they saw how quickly she worked, how she knew things she should not know. What the walls tell me is very strange, Mira told Dr. Kastner after 7 days. It speaks of a great civilization that discovered the secret of moving through time, not with machines but with sound, with certain tones and words that could bend the way time flows. Dr. Kastner nodded. That matches what we have found at other sites. Please go on. According to this, they created the statues as doorways or messengers. The statues could reach across time to find special people, people whose voices matched certain patterns. These people were called echoes because they could hear the voices from the past. And you are one of these echoes, Dr. Kastner said. The statue recognized your voice pattern at the museum. That is why it spoke to you. Mira frowned. But why make these statues? What was so important to send across time? The answer came on the 10th day. In a hidden room behind the main chamber, they found more writings. These spoke of a great disaster that had destroyed the ancient civilization, some kind of war or natural event that had nearly wiped out all knowledge. The few survivors had created the statues in a desperate attempt to preserve their most important discoveries. They feared their knowledge would be lost forever, Mira explained as she read the walls. So they scattered the statues across the world, hoping they would survive. Each statue contained the same wisdom. Each was programmed to find the right people through time to carry on their work. That night, Mira had the strongest dream yet. She saw a city of white buildings and strange machines. She saw people gathered around a glowing stone working together to build the first statue. She heard them speaking in that odd language she somehow understood. She felt their fear and hope as they sent their creations into the world. When she woke, she knew what she had to do. She went to find Dr. Kastner. The statues are not just messengers, she told him. They are teachers too. They were made to share knowledge with those who can hear them. Dr. Kastner seemed unsurprised. Have you heard its teachings? He asked. Mira hesitated. Yes, she admitted. In my dreams. But I need to ask it directly. I need to speak with it like I did at the museum. That afternoon, the dig team left the underground room. Only Mira and Dr. Kastner remained with the bronze statue. Mira stood before it feeling both afraid and excited. It seemed more alive than before, as if it was waiting for her. She leaned close to its ear. Who am I really? She whispered. When she put her ear to its lips, the voice was stronger than before. You are the last of us sent forward to bring the knowledge back. The voice filled her head and her body. It was not just sound but images and feelings too. Memories that were not hers yet somehow belonged to her. Mira fell to her knees. Her mind was suddenly full of new memories. She saw herself in that ancient city. She saw herself helping create the statues. She saw herself speaking words of power that bent time itself. Dr. Kastner helped her up. Are you all right? He asked with concern. Mira looked at him with new eyes. I remember, she said simply. I remember everything now. I need to show you something, Mira told Dr. Kastner the next morning. She had spent the night drawing in her notebook. Page after page of strange machines and symbols. Things she had seen in her new memories. What is all this? Dr. Kastner asked, looking at her drawings with wide eyes. The knowledge the statues were meant to preserve, Mira explained. The science of sound and time. The formulas and machines that could bend reality. The wisdom that was nearly lost. Each day Mira filled more notebooks. She drew plans for devices that had not existed for thousands of years. She wrote down formulas that modern science had not yet discovered. She recorded the history of a civilization that had disappeared before written records began. The dig team was amazed. Experts were called in from around the world to see her work. Scientists, engineers, historians. They studied her notebooks with disbelief and excitement. "This cannot possibly come from just one person," a famous physicist said after reviewing her equations. "These ideas are beyond our current understanding. Some of them solve problems we have been working on for decades." Mira could not explain it even to herself. The knowledge flowed through her like water. She would wake up with new ideas fully formed in her mind. Sometimes she would write for hours, barely aware of what she was doing, as if someone else was moving her hand. 3 weeks after her arrival, Dr. Kastner came to her tent late one night. "There is something I need to tell you," he said seriously. "You are not the only one." "Not the only what?" Mira asked, looking up from her writing. "Not the only echo," he explained. "We have found others. People who have heard the statues speak. People who have remembered things they should not know." He showed her photographs of men and women from different countries. All had the same intense look in their eyes that Mira now saw in her own reflection. "We have been gathering them," Dr. Kastner said, "bringing them together. The statues told us this was necessary, that when enough echoes were found something important would happen." "How many are there?" Mira asked. 11 so far, including you," Dr. Kastner said. "The statues spoke of 12. We are still searching for the last." "Why 12?" Mira wondered. Then the answer came to her suddenly from her new memories. 12 tones, 12 voices, 12 parts of the whole knowledge. Each of us has different memories, different parts of the knowledge, she realized. Only together do we have the complete picture. The next day, Dr. Kastner showed her something else. In his tent, he kept a small bronze amulet. It matched the symbol on the letter she had received, the same symbol that was carved on the statue's base. "This was found at the first dig site," he explained. "We believe it is some kind of key or tool, but we do not know how to use it." Mira took the amulet in her hand. It felt warm and somehow alive, like the statue but smaller, more focused. Images flashed in her mind. The amulet was a connection, a way to link the 12 echoes together. "I know what we need to do," she told Dr. Kastner. "We need to bring everyone here, all the echoes, and we need to do it soon." When he asked why, Mira struggled to explain. "There is a pattern in time," she said finally, "a moment when the connection will be strongest. The equinox. We need to be ready by then." Dr. Kastner looked worried, but he trusted her. "I will make the arrangements," he promised. "They will all be here within 2 weeks." The other echoes began arriving at the dig site. First came an old professor from Japan, then twin brothers from Brazil, a young woman from Kenya, a middle-aged man from Russia. Each had their own story of finding a statue. Each had their own piece of the ancient knowledge. When they met, Mira felt an instant connection, like meeting family members she had not seen for a long time. They did not need many words to understand each other. They shared the same memories, though from different perspectives. Together they worked to combine their knowledge. The Japanese professor had remembered the science of sound vibrations. The Brazilian twins knew about the metal alloy used to make the statues. The Kenyan woman understood the time formulas. The Russian man knew how to build the machines. Mira's contribution was understanding how it all fit together. She saw the pattern that connected all the pieces, like she was meant to be the one who completed the puzzle. As the equinox grew closer, more echoes arrived. A teenage boy from Australia, an architect from India, a doctor from Canada, a farmer from Egypt. Each brought new memories, new understanding. By the time the 11th echo arrived, they had nearly completed their work. The underground chamber had been transformed. Around the bronze statue, they had built a circle of strange devices, following the plans from their shared memories. Wires and crystals connected everything in a complex pattern. The bronze amulet hung above the statue's head, suspended by thin wires. It will work, Darkastner asked, watching them prepare. What you are trying to do is really possible. The Russian echo nodded confidently. The science is sound, he said. We have checked each other's work many times. If our memories are true, then this will open the doorway. But what exactly will happen, Mira asked. None of them could fully answer this question. Their memories showed them building the circle, but not what came after. The night before the equinox, they gathered in the chamber. 12 chairs had been placed around the statue, even though they were only 11. The empty seat reminded them that they were still incomplete. Should we wait? Darkastner asked. Try to find the 12th echo. Mira shook her head. The equinox is too important. We must try tomorrow, even without the last one. The window will not come again for many years. That night, Mira dreamed more clearly than ever before. She saw the original circle in the ancient city. 12 people joining hands around the first statue. She saw energy building between them, forming a bridge across time. She saw knowledge flowing backward and forward along that bridge, preserving what would otherwise be lost. When she woke, she knew what would happen. The circle would connect them to the past, to the original builders. The two groups, separated by thousands of years, would become one for a brief moment. Knowledge would flow both ways, completing the loop that had begun so long ago. The morning of the equinox dawned clear and bright. The echoes prepared themselves in silence. Each felt the weight of what they were about to do. Each understood that they were fulfilling a purpose set in motion thousands of years before their birth. As the sun reached its highest point, they took their places in the circle. 11 people and one empty chair. They joined hands and began to speak the words they had all remembered. Words in that ancient language that bent the fabric of time. The devices around them began to hum. The bronze amulet began to spin slowly above the statue's head. The air in the chamber felt thick and heavy. Mira closed her eyes, feeling the energy building around them. Then she heard footsteps on the stone stairs. Someone was coming. The footsteps grew louder even as the humming of the machines grew stronger. Mira opened her eyes and turned toward the entrance. A woman stood there watching them. An old woman with white hair and eyes that looked just like Mira's own. Who are you? Darkastner asked, standing up from where he watched. The old woman smiled. I am the 12th echo, she said simply. I have come to complete the circle. She walked slowly to the empty chair. As she passed Mira, she paused and touched her hand gently. The touch sent a shock through Mira's body. In that moment she knew. This woman was herself, an older version from years in the future. How is this possible? Mira whispered. The circle makes many things possible, the old woman said. Time is not as straight as people believe. Sometimes it curves back on itself. The other echoes watched in amazement as the old woman took her place in the circle. She held out her hands to connect the chain. As soon as the circle was complete, the humming of the machines grew much louder. The bronze amulet spun faster above them. Now we must speak the final words, the old woman said. The words that will complete the connection. Together, all 12 began to chant. The words came easily, as if they had known them all their lives. As they spoke, the air in the center of the circle began to glow. The statue seemed to come alive, its metal flowing like water. Mira felt her mind stretching, expanding beyond the room, beyond the present moment. She could see the past clearly now. The ancient city, the first circle of 12, the desperate hope as they sent their knowledge forward through time. But she could also see the future, many possible paths spreading out like branches of a tree, some bright with hope, others dark with suffering. And she understood at last the true purpose of the circle. It was not just to preserve knowledge. It was to change the path of history, to warn the present about mistakes of the future, to guide humanity away from the darkest branches of that tree. The glow in the center of the circle grew brighter. Mira could see faces in the light, the original 12 looking back at them across the gulf of time. Their expressions showed joy and relief. They had succeeded. The connection was made. Knowledge began to flow in both directions, the ancient wisdom coming to the present, the modern understanding flowing back to the past, completing a loop that transcended time itself. Mira felt her mind filling with new information, answers to questions she had not even thought to ask, solutions to problems the world did not yet know it faced. She understood now why she had been chosen, why all of them had been chosen. They were the bridges between what was and what could be. The light grew so bright that Mira had to close her eyes. She felt the hand of her older self squeeze hers gently. Then a surge of energy passed through the circle like a wave. For one moment, all 12 echoes, past and future, were perfectly united, one mind spanning thousands of years. Then slowly the light began to fade. The humming of the machines grew quieter. The bronze amulet slowed its spinning and finally stopped. Mira opened her eyes, feeling changed in ways she could not fully describe. The other echoes looked similarly transformed. They sat in silence for a long time, no one wanting to break the connection they still felt. Even Darkastner seemed affected, watching them with wonder and respect. Finally, the old woman, the 12th echo, stood up. "My part here is done," she said. "The circle is complete. The knowledge is preserved both forward and backward in time." She walked to Mira and placed something in her hand, a small key made of the same bronze as the statue. "Keep this," she said. "You will know when to use it." Then, before anyone could stop her, she walked out of the chamber and was gone. Dr. Kastner sent people to look for her, but no one could find any trace. It was as if she had disappeared back into the future she had come from. That night, Mira sat alone in her tent looking at the bronze key. Her mind was still processing everything she had learned in the circle. The responsibility she now carried felt enormous. Knowledge that could change the world for better or worse. She understood now that her journey was just beginning. The whisper from the statue in the museum had been the first step on a path that would take her far beyond anything she had imagined. A path that would eventually lead her back to that chamber as the 12th echo, completing the circle she had helped to start. 1 year had passed since the day of the equinox. The dig site had been transformed into a research center. The 12 echoes worked together, sharing their knowledge with carefully chosen scientists and leaders. They revealed their discoveries, slowly, being careful not to give too much too quickly. The world was already changing. New energy sources based on sound vibrations were replacing fossil fuels. Medical treatments using time frequencies were curing diseases thought to be incurable. Communication systems inspired by the statue technology were connecting people in ways never before possible. Mira had become the voice of the echoes. Her clear explanations and calm presence made people trust her. She traveled the world speaking to governments and organizations, explaining the gifts from the past and the warnings about the future. Not everyone welcomed these changes. Some feared the new technologies. Others wanted to use them for power or profit. The echoes had to be careful who they trusted. The knowledge they carried could help humanity or harm it depending on how it was used. Darkastner had become their protector, creating a foundation to support their work and shield them from those who might exploit them. The original statue remained in the underground chamber, a silent witness to the bridge they had built across time. On quiet evenings, Mira would sometimes go to sit with the statue. She would trace the symbols on its base and think about the journey that had brought her here. From a bored museum visitor to a keeper of ancient wisdom. From a woman who whispered a question to one who now had so many answers. She still carried the bronze key her future self had given her. She kept it on a chain around her neck, always close. Though she did not yet know what lock it would open, she trusted that when the time came she would know. The other echoes had their own roles to play. The Japanese professor created a new school to teach the sound science. The Brazilian twins built machines based on their shared memories. The Kenyan woman worked with mathematicians to develop new understandings of time. Each used their piece of the knowledge in their own way. Together, they formed a new kind of family bound by their shared experience and purpose. They met regularly at the research center to compare notes and plan their next steps. Always guided by the visions they had seen in the circle, always working toward the better futures they had glimpsed. Mira knew that someday she would become the old woman who completed the circle. That someday she would walk down those stone steps to join her younger self and the other echoes. When that day came, the loop would be complete. But until then, there was much work to do. The statues remained their silent partners. The one from the museum had been brought to the research center to join its twin. Sometimes visitors would still whisper questions to it, not knowing its true purpose. Sometimes it would still whisper back, guiding certain special people toward their own destinies. Mira often thought about that first whisper and how it had changed everything. A simple question asked on a boring day. Will I ever escape this boring life? The statue had known the answer even then, had known that her life would become extraordinary in ways she could never have imagined. As Mira walked through the research center, watching the echoes and their students at work, she felt a deep sense of purpose. The knowledge from the past was helping to build a better future. The circle that had begun thousands of years ago continued to grow and strengthen. And sometimes, when she was alone with the statue, she would lean close to its shiny ear and whisper thank you. And sometimes she would hear a soft voice in reply. Not words exactly, but a feeling of connection. A reminder that time was not a straight line but a circle. That endings were also beginnings. That a whisper could echo across centuries, changing everything in its path.